It's really odd that I'm here doing this today because once upon a time I was a really busy guy, high performer for 10 years straight, and I ran different businesses. Our biggest business did millions of dollars. We had two like that. We had two more that did six figures. And so for 10 years, I was a high performer. I was the guy who was tweaking the smallest things in me to get the maximum output and efficiency out of me. And so I went as detailed as trying to have a certain ingredient or supplement before sleeping and buying a $2,000 bed cover that gets cold so you sleep better with your time. I mean, I was that guy. And all I wanted to do is there's just one question I was always trying to answer. It's how do I become better? Anyone ever ask themselves that? It's that voice in your head's always saying, I need to be the best version of myself. Here's the fine print that they don't tell you in that contract that you sign with that mind, is that there is no best. You never get there. You always have to keep doing better, don't you? I'm with a young man in Colombia here, quite successful, lives in a huge mansion. He's everything he wants. And he sat down with me, he's like, can you help me? I said, sure. You hear me talk somewhere in Medellin. That's where I met Samskaras, talking about the story of how I became the vice president of Think and Grow Rich Institute. And then how I kind of walked away from all of it, and the whole story. And he was really inspired, and he thought what I was talking about was going to be a secret weapon to him becoming the best version of himself. That's what that mind thinks. That's the nature of that thinking, isn't it? That there's always something I got to be doing to optimize this to get to this point. So he sat down with me. He's like, I got a real big problem. I said, what's it with? He goes, I have this habit. I said, okay, so what's the problem? He goes, well, it distracts me from doing the things I know I should be doing. Anyone have a problem like this? They have something in their life that distracts them from doing something. Okay. Okay. So we're having this cacao at this cafe together. I'm looking at him. And I said, okay. Now when I'm talking to people, I get into a meditative state. So I'm always meditating. Meditation is just the concentration of awareness. So you would say, Armin, that sounds amazing. I would always want to be concentrated and aware of my surroundings and of myself. But yeah, that's meditation. It doesn't mean this. It could also mean I'm here right now with you guys and nowhere else. My mind isn't somewhere else. But you ask yourself, you're like, are you sitting here listening to me right now, or is your mind somewhere else? Are you thinking about the plan? Are you thinking about yesterday? Are you thinking about tomorrow? Is your mind taking you out of where life is happening right now? That's the question. So I'm looking at this guy. I'm in this total meditative state. I'm just feeling his energy. I'm being with him. Now he also looks at me. He's like, you're this guy, successful businesses before in the past. And I walked away from all that. Funny enough, God ended up giving me far more to do in that realm, but I just don't make it a business anymore. And I think in his mind, he thought this guy's the secret weapon. So I said, okay, well, what's the problem with the habit? He's like, well, it's distracting me from doing the things I need to be doing. I'm like, what do you need to be doing? I was concerned with him, He really looked, he's taking this seriously. He goes, well, I need to wake up at a certain time. I said, oh, okay. And what happens if you don't? He goes, well, if I don't wake up at this certain time, then I won't be able to work out at this certain time. And if I don't work out and do my self-care things, then I won't be in the right state of mind to do my work. And if I'm not in the right state to do my work, then I'll waste my day. If my day is wasted, then I'll feel terrible, and it'll make me want to do more of these bad things. I said, that's quite a dilemma you got there. Anyone ever try to wake up at a certain time? If I don't wake up at this certain time, the whole day is wasted, isn't it? I mean, you got a lot of people out there really trying to tell you. The secret is to wake up at 5 a.m. Well, if I break all the clocks in the world, now what are you going to do? Well, 5 a.m. is just a contract of the mind, isn't it? So he goes, what should I do? I said, well, that's not the question here. The question here is, why does this matter? And again, I was the guy who woke up at 3:30 in the morning, grapefruit juice, no sugar, so that it really wakes up I've done all of it. Done all of it, man. Anything you think about. And he goes, well, it matters because I want to be the best version of myself. I'm like, and if you become the best version of yourself, what are you going to do then? What does that do for you? And here's a great question to ask yourself when you're vetting why you do things. You go, if I get that, what does that get me? It's a good writer downer. If I get that, what does that get me? In Think and Grow Rich, we taught several seminars over the years that I was teaching with them. It was one of the best questions we ever asked. Like, what do you want? Why do you want it? And people never could understand, answer the question, why I want to do something. Why do I want to get rich? Why do I want to get wealthy? Why do I want to pay off debt? Why? I go, well, the best question to ask is, if I get that, what does that get me? And you know what I got? Always answers of things that was always interesting, very different than what people would assume is behind the motivation. So I told him, like, if you become the best version of yourself, what does that do for you? He goes, well, then I could live my life, happy. I said, okay, are you not happy right now? He goes, well, no, I am. I said, well, now we're in a pickle, aren't we? And not the good pickles. So I said, okay, well, let's suppose I snap my fingers right now, cast a spell on you. Tomorrow you wake up exactly on time. You go work out and you do the best workout of your life that day. You get at your computer at the exact time you need to be. You work your ass off. You feel totally confident in yourself. You feel so good about yourself. And then you have enough time to spend time with yourself at the end of the night. Then you go to sleep. And then you wake up the next day and do the exact same thing. He goes, yeah, that sounds great. I go, okay. Well, let's say we do 7 days of this. Is good? Yeah, it's great. I'm like, how about 7 weeks? 7 weeks good? Yeah, it'd be great. I'll be in best version of myself. I'm like, well, that's the trick, right? Will you be at the best version? That's my question. He goes, well, no, I guess, you always got to be growing. And I go, well, those two beliefs don't make sense, do they? Kind of contradict. If you always got to be growing and you got to get to the best version of yourself, how does that work? Tell me. We don't even need to get spiritual about this. Let's just get sensical about it. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Does this make sense? I got to get to the best version of myself, but I always got to be growing. What does that mean? Did someone thought to question the algorithm running the mind? Anyone just stop to think, does this make sense? Because I'm living my life through this ideology. I mean, my whole life, the only thing I have is my life. And here the rule book is saying, I got to keep growing, but I also got to get to the best version of myself or else I can't live my life happy. So we kept pushing. I said, let's say you do this for the next 10 years. Not one day you missed. You're perfect. I go, how would that feel? He goes, it'd feel really good. I said, that's awesome. And would you be happy? He goes, I'd be happy. Would you be at peace? He goes, I'd be at peace, man. And then I said, aren't you already happy? And he just sat there. He goes, well, I am. I said, can you see now why, what the problem is? There is no awareness to why you're doing what you're doing. Now you think this guy's the only one. You won't believe how many times I sit with a person, and a portion of my calendar is set aside for unpaid work. I follow a principle, a system of surrender in my life. One of it is to do selfless service. So I meet some people that can't afford working with me. I meet some people that really need the help. And then I meet people that are paid. You can't believe how many times I've come across someone who really doesn't know why they're doing what they're doing. Which is just another way of saying what? I really don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. Which is just packaged and disguised as, I don't know what my purpose is, isn't it? Now, how many guys were creating your perfect day? And you got stumped, didn't you? What's in this perfect day? I mean, what is a perfect day? You go, well, I mean, Zach said it's a cup of coffee, a porch, and, wife in red, that's what it takes. How many of your mind went blank? I mean, be honest. I mean, I even tried to sit down like, what my perfect day would be. I don't know. I'm enjoying so much. Every day is so different. I'm really enjoying just surrendering to whatever comes. You go, Arm, you can't live like that. It's irresponsible. You don't have kids. You don't have dogs. You don't have cars. You're right. But your mind's going blank. Why? Because the question only isn't, what do I want? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? Question becomes then, who am I? Which is a matter of a topic of what am I being? So if you found your mind being blank, it's because we're missing a huge component of this question. Because who you're being and who you are, from that comes what you do and what you have, isn't it? Am I wrong here? Anyone's like, no, Armin. See, if you get a Ferrari, you now are a Ferrari owner. That's who you are. If I have kids, now I'm a parent. Is that all you are? Did you stop being a daughter? When you became a mother, did you stop being a daughter? So we know for sure we're not just one thing, aren't we? Who we are is a very vast question. Who am I is the question I have been tasked to help people answer. It's what brings me the most joy. So you can tell the guy at Cacao, he walked away a little dazed. What are you going to do with that? He walked in with an agenda and he walked out with nothing. It's sometimes nothing is a beautiful thing. It's where everything starts, isn't it? You need an empty container to fill it with something, don't you? So I was this guy. I made all the millions of dollars and, I really pushed, I served this ego in every way I can. The ego told me, you need to have a great body. I said, great, we will do this. And I got these abs and it was really nice. They felt great. They're not here anymore, just full disclosure. Ego said, you need these awards. I said, why? Why do we need these awards? It's a lot of work to get these awards. We need these awards. Every award is worth $1 million. I had multiple. He goes, you need these awards. I go, why? He goes, because if you don't have them, you can't get the respect you're looking for others, and you don't have the influence, and people won't buy easy for you. But if you get them, everyone's going to buy stuff from you easier. You'll have the respect you want. You have the status. You get to be a part of the bigger stuff. I said, okay, fine. It's very convincing. Yeah, stop. Yes. So just know this. The ego is always selling. The soul never sells. The ego says, I need. The soul says, I am. So then it told me, you need this girlfriend. You need this girl, like a wife, So I got myself the greatest wife you could ever imagine. I didn't get married, but my idea, I'm like, this is the one. You need the one. You're all alone. You got to go get someone. I go, okay, let's do it. So here I was finding myself, young. Now I'm only younger. That's all that's happened. I've only anti-aged. I found myself with the most beautiful girlfriend you could ever imagine. Beautiful relationship. I was living in the heart of Los Angeles, where all the fame and the glory and success stuff is. I was kind of a huge imposter in my own life because I thought, well, this doesn't feel like me. What's this? But I thought, this is the one. You got to be in a place where there's a beach and there's palm trees and trees, and you have a beautiful girlfriend, and you have all this money and all this respect. I had a mentor that had made $2 billion. I won the lottery. I had a guy that was mentoring me. He had made hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm like, I have the guy, the girl, I have the employees, I got the team, I got the clients, I got everything. That's why when I got to the end of the year and I was sitting there miserable, I was so confused. Genuinely, I was stunned. Now I consider myself a really smart guy back then. Now I've only realized how dumb I am. I was sitting there with all my intelligence. I couldn't figure out why I feel like something's still missing. I couldn't get it. In fact, if you search my phone, you'll find some recordings of me talking to myself, giving myself pep talks on walks. Walking around. I have a full recording. You can't make this shit up. It's me saying, hey, Armin, don't fuck this up. You better not mess this up. We got everything going. I got a call recording to myself saying that. I remember thinking, I was so afraid to lose everything I have. So see, wanting something is suffering because you don't have it. You got to want something you don't have. That's what it is. The absence of it is. So I want love in my life. You have to, every time you say that, you got to put out into the universe. That means I don't have it. And then when you get it, you're terrified to lose it. But the worst scenario of them all, the worst one, isn't wanting what you don't have or not really having it and being scared to lose it. The worst of it all is when you actually believe it means something. Now you got a problem. You'll find yourself attached to everything. Suddenly, there's no power left in you to answer the question, who am I? So I found myself very attached to everything. That if I lose this relationship, lose the mentor, lose the respect, lose the status, lose the employees, lose the company, lose this, lose the money, lose, then I'll die. And that's what happens when we identify with what we do and what we have. Athletes have this phenomenon all the time. They injure their shoulder, can't work, they go into depression. Because they thought what I do is who I am. You go, Armin, all this who am I question stuff is really freaking me out. I was just here to make $1 million, I go, great. How would you like to actually be at peace when you get there? Better yet, how would you like to get there peacefully? 400 different businesses. That's how many people I worked with. Paid a lot of money for me to help them grow their business. You know why I walked away from it? Because out of 400 times, I think I only met 2 people that genuinely enjoyed what they were doing, and it was what they were meant to do. 398 times, I was faced with a situation where I was paid money to help someone build something so they can have something, so they can fill the void of who am I? And you could tell. As soon as they made the money, you could show what came out. I had the curse and the privilege of seeing many people go from nothing to millionaire with the work I did with them. And you get to see, you learn a lot about human psychology and people when you add a 0 to their income. You'll see when you get there. You just stick through it with Zach, you'll see. You go, Armin, I already have $1 million, I'm trying to get to 5. I go, try to get to 10. Just add a 0, see what happens to you. I walked away because I realized everyone doesn't really have goals. They thought they had goals. They go, no, Armin, I have these goals. I want this house, this many kids, this body, this bank account. This is my goals. I go, these aren't goals. Go, wait on a second. Hold on. I have this whole plan with Zach. Don't tell me it's not real. Hold on. It's not goals. They're solutions, aren't they? It might not be relevant to everyone, but I know it was for me. I didn't have goals or visions. I had solutions to problems I was having. Now, what's the problem when the fuel of your motivation is fear, lack, insecurity? I'll tell you what, here's a few symptoms to know if your fuel of motivation for why you want what you want is based out of your shadows, your lack, your insecurity, your fears. If the work you do feels hard, if you constantly feel like you're worried about burning out or you did burn out, if no matter how much you accomplish, you still feel like it's not enough, if you keep yourself busy with doing more stuff and having more stuff because you're terrified of being still and in silence, being with yourself. And most importantly, if you're not at peace. So, Armin, what do I do with that? All right, you got me. I don't feel that great. And I want to do all this stuff Zach's saying. I really want to have a better life. I do. Don't leave me like this with the cacao in my hand and thinking about why I'm not going to wake up tomorrow at the right time. I go, it's really easy. See, happiness and peace are 2 different things. Happiness isn't peace, but most people are chasing happiness in their life, aren't they? But what they really want is peace. See, happiness is like having an itch, isn't it? It's like, oh, you got an itch on the neck or on the back, you want to scratch you. What do you feel when you scratch an itch? Tell me. Put it in the chat. What do you feel? What do you feel when you scratch that? What do you feel? Anyone got the word? Relief. Wow. How interesting is it then that happiness is just relieving yourself from something bothering you? Now, don't believe a word I'm saying. Let the word sit within you and just see how you feel. Particularly pay attention if your mind's saying, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's for sure. You got to be listening for sure. Because it's hiding, isn't it? Truth is hiding behind all the layers of your intellect telling you how your life should be. Just try to feel what I'm saying. Tell me, is it not true? You go, no, Armin, happiness isn't scratching my itches and relieving myself from things bothering me. Happiness is real thing. I go, okay, no problem. Next time you got an itch, don't scratch it. Tell me what happens. you still happy? Well, yeah. Okay. Now, it doesn't end there, does it? You scratch an itch. Is it over? Does it let you be? You got more that come up. Now, if you ever found yourself scratching your back against the stone brick wall, experiencing true heaven going through your body, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The moment you scratch one, you got to scratch three. You scratch three, you got to scratch nine. Suddenly, if you walk past me on the street, and I'm sitting down like this on the street, you think I'm a healthy guy? Come on, tell me. You walk by, go, that guy's on my vision board right there, that one right there. That guy, he has all the happiness he could ever want. I mean, just look at him, right? You know, something's wrong with him or something, he's on something. So happiness isn't peace. It's just having to relieve yourself from the suffering of not having something. We just really sugarcoat it so it doesn't feel so terrible. I gotta make the money. I need that person to like me. I need that person to apologize. That's the big one. That's the biggest itch. If they don't apologize, I can't give myself permission to let it go, So what's peace? It's the question. Every time I give this metaphor, everyone goes, what's peace, Armin? Give me a piece of the peace, Peace is having an itch and not having to scratch. Even better yet, not having any itches. So you could just be. You go, Armin, that means I'm not going to have any desires or goals or things to work towards or do things? Like, what do you mean? Just sit there like this? Oh. I go, no, they're also attached to emptiness, to nothing. Peace isn't not having goals or desires or drive or wanting to do stuff. It's actually getting to enjoy your goals and your desires and wanting to do stuff. And tell me, when's the last time you enjoyed? Really, like a kid, like a childish joy in your stomach. When's the last time you enjoyed doing something? Doing what you want to do. Working towards your goal. No stress, not even an inch. You go, Armin, yeah, I'm joyful, of course. 30% of the time, I'm terrified and stressed. 70% of the time, but see the ratio. See, if you get the ratio right, then I can classify under the category of joyful. This isn't a consensus. It's not. We're not doing a mass population test. This is a yes or no. Peace means the absence of all suffering. At least the symptom of suffering means you're not at peace. So what's peace? Well, suppose we go to play a game of golf together. Anyone here know golf? I'm actually, funny enough, I'm wearing a golf shirt here. Just realized that. Makes sense. Angus Glenn from Toronto. Let's say we go to play a game of golf. Now, if you don't know golf, it doesn't matter. This analogy will still make sense. Let's say we go and we get started on the course. And I look at you and I go, all right, here's the rules of the game. We're going to play a game of golf. If you lose, I kill your whole family. If you win, you win. Ready to go? You go, hold on a second. Hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, nothing. Just if you lose the game, whole family, done. No, I don't want to play the game. Well, you have to play the game. Now tell me, are you going to play the best game you've ever played? People get this answer mixed up sometimes. Are you going to play absolutely at your best? Anyone here? Yes. David says, yes, of course. I'll never let anything happen to my family. But tell me, what's your best? Let's define your best. Are you going to be on that course thinking, totally clear, at peace, flexibly moving? See, the game of golf. Anyone here golf? Put yes in the chat if you golf. If you golf, you already know. Golf is a game of mind. The stillness of the mind. Why? Moment you're just a little stressed, that shoulder comes up a bit, you miss the ball by a whole mile. Okay, it's the most incredible thing. It's a crazy phenomenon. You got even a little bit of tension in the neck. This thing goes up a bit, you miss the ball. So you're gonna be playing this game, sweating and dreading the outcome, aren't you? What if I lose? What if I lose? What if I lose? What if I can't lose? I can't lose. You're not gonna have a moment of your awareness playing this game. You're gonna be terrified of the ending until the end. Now, if you get to the end, if you win, are you happy? No, you're going to say, I never want to play this game again. I'm traumatized. I have PTSD. I need a therapist after playing this game. What did you do to me? Thus is the nature of chasing things in our life that we think we need. We're afraid if we don't. Leaves us traumatized, doesn't it? How many of you ever done some really hard things in your life? You're like, I never want to do that again, even though you accomplish. I know I did. I walked away. I'm like, I never want to build a business again. So what's peace? Well, peace is this. I get to the beginning of the course with you and I go, hey, let's go play a game of golf. Yeah. If you lose, I'll give you $10,000. If you win, I'll give you $10,000. Regardless, I'm going to pay you out. Thank you for playing me. You ready to play? You go, well, geez, yeah. Let's go. Now, how are you going to play the game now? You're not only going to be having an enjoyable time, you're going to enjoy your time playing the game, you're going to start playing better than you ever knew. Because why? There's no stress, no outcome. You don't care, you're just enjoying the process. In fact, you're so fearless, you start trying new things. You're doing a trick shot, it's twisting the foot like this. And you go, well, I didn't know I could do that. See, you're trying new things. No fear, no worries about what happens if I fill in the blank. So it's safe to say that when you're at peace, you play the game better. Yes or no? Anyone disagree here? I terrify, put fear into your bones. I say, let's play the game. You gonna enjoy this? You gonna play good? No. But the mind is so brilliant, it's persuaded you to think you need fear. You need to attach. You need to fix this because that's what's making this feel this way. And you're wondering why you're burnt out. You're wondering why this isn't enjoyable. Because happiness is attachment. And peace is no attachment. See, if we're sitting at a dinner table with your family tonight, right? Debbie's getting it. She's really getting this. Let it come to you, Debbie. Just when when awareness starts awakening, awakening is a very beautiful thing. It's also scary. It's like a roller coaster. You're like, what? Everything I thought about, it's not true. And you just go into it. Go into the hole of awakening. It's a beautiful one. See, if we're sitting at dinner tonight with your family to have some dinner, right? And you really got to take a leak. Tell me, are you going to enjoy that dinner? Are you going to be with your family? Are you going to listen to your wife? She's talking about her day. And all you feel is you're fantasizing a toilet, aren't you? So you get your ass up, you run to the washroom to relieve yourself. Just piss it all out. And just like this, we piss our life away, don't we? Because there's always somewhere else we got to be, someone else we got to be, something else we got to do. You go, but Armin, that's how it is, isn't it? I've known this for a long time now. You tell me. Is that how it is? Does it make sense? Is it working? I mean, the only thing I really got here is I didn't come out of the mountains. I'm living in a mountain right now. I didn't come out of the mountains having done nothing with my life. So you can't talk to me you can't say anything to me about if this is true or not. You can only come to terms with truth within yourself. I really feel what I'm saying. Is this true? Am I always wondering about where else I got to be? Do I always got to relieve myself? Is there always something I got to do? Is there always something I got to be? So peace is this. You have an itch you don't need to scratch. So suddenly, you can enjoy working on the business. You can actually enjoy your job. You go, what? That's possible? I'll pay any amount of money you get me to enjoy my job. People will pay an arm and a leg to have a moment of peace. Isn't that true? I work every week with a man who has substance abuse. He hasn't done anything for the last 2.5 months. Safe to say it's working. Early in our first couple calls, he goes, I would pay $10,000 for just a day of peace. I go, you don't need to pay anything. I'm doing it with you right now. So peace is knowing I am not what I do. I don't need anything. And just coming to terms, the realization that you need nothing. Now, this is the lifelong journey path, this one. As you go, yeah, Armin, you're right. I don't need that person's approval. I don't need my mother-in-law to love my wife or her husband. I don't need those things. You're right. And I go, yeah, you also don't need money. You go, hold on a second now. I definitely need money. I go, so we see your limit. We see where your consciousness stops. We see where your awareness is hijacked by the mind. I don't blame you. Well, if I don't have the money, Armin, all these terrible things will happen, will they? Was I sure you had the money? It didn't really change anything. See, the real work isn't having the money. It's finding out who you are. And you know what money does for you? It makes it a lot easier. I heard somewhere a wise man say, I wish upon everyone to get everything they want into life so they can come to the realization that it doesn't matter. Amen. Well, why would Zach bring a guy into $1 million net worth challenge to tell us after all this work that we shouldn't think about any of this stuff? My answer to you. Because you can still do everything he's saying without having to attach to needing for it to happen. And actually be at peace throughout the process and not have to wait to earn that peace. And I promise you, since I've lived so many different lifetimes at this point, I was showing a video of something I taught to a client earlier. They go, that's you? I go, yeah, that was only 3 years ago. You look like a whole different person. I go, yeah, I've had that many times. 7 lifetimes in one. I can promise you, if you're at peace, you will do it faster, do it easier, and you actually won't care when you get there. How many would love to actually get there and go, yeah, net worth is there, got the properties. How absolutely powerful it would be to get everything you want and it didn't matter. You go, Armin, that sounds terrible. I go, well, try the other one for size. Try to get there and it all mattered. Oh, you'll be terrified every waking moment because the moment anything happens to any of the things you have, you can't be happy anymore, can you? Zach knows what I'm talking about. So we know what happiness is. We know what peace is. Well, what's the path to peace? That's the question, Everyone's always wondering. Well, what do I do? I'll sign up for this yoga class this week. That's the first step. Yoga's great. Won't get you peace. It'll give you a moment of relief. Well, I'm going to start studying some chakra stuff, Open up my heart and stuff. I go, that's great too. Won't bring you peace. Well, you know what, Armin? I've been wondering about meditation for a long time. I'm going to start meditating now. Meditation's great. Won't bring you peace. You go, what are you talking about? We're running out of the list here. This is all the stuff they're telling us to do. I go, hold on, there's more. I think I'm finally going to get a specialist to talk to me. They're great. They're just going to tell you how to be happy their way. They won't bring you peace. Well, you go, Armin, and I've had people do this. They hear this talk and they go, you really helped me out here. I'm clear now. All I got to do is make sure I just finally focus and do the things I need to do to get that business off the ground so I get to this income level so I could just be fine. And then I'm good. I go, what talk were you at? Were we at a different seminar here? And those ones are always the funny ones. I had a young man come to my event, same one Zach went to 3 months ago. And he did the whole day. We did a whole day on, the self-realization work. And he at the end of it, he comes to me and he goes, he looks so focused. And he came there because he was miserable. I mean, this guy, and he had an exit under 30 years old. He's making good money. Like this guy was, he does charities and every week, like it's some, he's like the perfect, specimen. And at the end of the week, at the end of the day, he came up to me and he goes, He goes, I feel amazing. I said, I'm so happy for you, man. He goes, I finally got it. I said, dude, I'm so happy to hear that. What did you get? He goes, I just need to fucking focus. And I just sat there. I'm like, wow, this is a whole day we spent together talking about, what I'm going to share with you right now. I'm like, I'm either really bad at this or he's really stubborn. I mean, So I just looked at him with just loving eyes and I said, I'm so happy for you. I just heard God say, not time yet. I said, okay, that's great. He hit me up 2 weeks ago. Out of nowhere. 2.5 months I haven't heard from him. Hits me up out of nowhere. It's like, hey, everything's really going to shit. I really need to speak with you. I'm like, all right. So we get on the call. He starts the call with, I'm going to get straight to it. This is a cry for help. I'm having suicidal thoughts. And I just looked at him. And he starts telling me all the reasons. He's trying to work his way through the pain, work his way through the fear, work his way through the emotional stuff. He's trying to compensate. He's trying to make his outside world look the way it should because his inside doesn't look that way. He's trying to find the lake where there's a peaceful river instead of having the river inside of him. And he started sharing it with me. And I looked at him and I said, well, lucky for you, suicidal thoughts are still thoughts, and thoughts aren't real. And he goes, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, all thoughts are liars. You would know that on day one of working with me. When I take a person through a program, first day, we write down all of our thoughts and we read them. And I really challenge them. I mean, show me one that's true. It's fascinating what people find when they actually look inside their minds. So he let go of the suicide, obviously. I'm like, you're fine, man. I mean, you're already in heaven. Why would you want to leave? Here's a guy who made it. Still convinced there's somewhere else he has to make it. Great guy. Beautiful man. Helps a bunch of people. Makes good money. Great at what he does. Good looking gentleman. Works out every day. And for the life of him, he couldn't find out why there was a pit in his stomach. And it was ruining his life. And it's really terrifying to me because I'll get on a call like that and then I'll see his Instagram and on his story, he's like, I'm doing a webinar tomorrow about how to generate leads. And I'm like, that's the guy that I just talked to. Like, how exhausting is it to live a dual life? To portray something out into the world. And then when you're all alone, to be completely someone else. You can only hold it up for so long. Men do this. Husbands do this in relationships and marriages. Women do this. Entrepreneurs definitely do it. If you guys are hard workers, I know you know what I'm talking about. There was several months where I was still running my business, but I had my awakening that this is not for me. Or at least that I'm not at peace here. There's something wrong. I had to get on calls. I was coaching 23 CEOs or something at some point. Every week, one-on-ones. And I get on these calls. Full pack calendar. And I sit there doing my business thing, and I'd watch myself sitting there doing my business thing, and all I'm thinking is, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing all this? I don't get it. What am I doing? But see, when you need to do the things you need to do to have the things you need to have, when you're totally attached, you don't have the capacity to ask that question, do you? You're trapped. You're stuck. I can't ask that. I can't ask that question. That's a scary one because I know the answer. Well, it'll steal away my illusion of control over my life. That isn't bringing me any peace to begin with. I mean, that's the truthful way to say it, isn't it? So what's the path to peace? For the last 206 days, I've decided to document my life every single day, like a podcast. It's private. It's between me and me. And my entire endeavor was, I said, well, I'm at a low place in my point in life because I try to stick through having everything, not fall apart. Eventually I came to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm in a terrible place now. I've gained a bunch of weight. I've lost all my money, all this stuff. I'm like, I just broke up with my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, maybe I could turn this around and make it a really inspiring, positive thing. So I'm going to start documenting my life every day like a podcast as I change my life. I started on April 8th. The first 30 days was really beautiful. It was amazing. I just started cutting off my bad habits and, started realizing how much I'm drifting. There's a lot of drifting in life. When you let your mind unattended, it just drifts this way, drifts that way. You do a little bit of habit, it brings the whole family. You smoke one cigarette, you got the whole thing at the doorstep. Now let us in. I learned a lot about human psychology and self-control in the first 30 days. 34 days in, on the 34th day, here I was sitting down. I had gone to the gym every single day. I was feeling great. I cut off all my bad habits. I had been working on the business I had started for the 5th time that I closed, by the way, in the first, it was 90 days, I think. We did 100 grand. We launched this whole thing. I spent 8 months to make this new business. I walked away from everything last year. I made a whole new business, 8 months plan. I launched it in the first 90 days. I closed. It was working. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Everything was working, but I still felt something was missing. I'm like, now this has to be an escape room because I'm not getting it. And this time I was really spiritual. I'm doing all this stuff. And I was just sitting there with myself. And I just kept introspecting. In yogic culture, they call it Jnana Yoga, Jnana. Jnana Yoga is the practice of self-contemplation. It's to know who you are and self-realize through the questioning of yourself. I just kept sitting there with, why am I feeling bored? Why am I feeling bored? Why am I feeling bored? Why do I feel off? Am I lonely? Am I lonely? I don't know. Everything's good. I was happy. I had friends. I was hanging out. I was feeling attractive. I was doing this and money was coming in. I'm like, why am I still unhappy again? Now, I had already 4 other businesses in 10 years of experience with this feeling and doing these things. So for the first time I said, what if I try something new? I don't need to have a 4th year in a row where I make nothing less than $1 million and I feel terrible and existential crisis at the end of the year. I'm not doing this for the 4th time. I had 3 years in a row. I'm like, nah, not going to do it. So on the 34th day, I had a huge breakthrough. I got so deep into my contemplation, I found the root of it, and it brought me to tears. Brought me to tears. And I had this whole thing, like this little kid inside me still stuck in there in a dark room, and I'd suppressed him this whole time. And finally I saw him and he just broke down with me. And I realized I'd done everything for the last 10 years of my life from one insecurity. In my house, in my home, I never felt like I belonged. I genuinely thought I was adopted for some time. And because I had no home, I felt spiritually homeless, emotionally homeless. So I tried to make the whole world my home. I tried to make every stranger I meet as my family. And I walked around with this chip around me. There was this bill I had to pay, the bill of loneliness, and I was trying to make everyone and everything in the world pay this debt. And suddenly I started seeing all the money, the success, the relationships, the status, the cars, the houses, everything I got was trying to pay this debt. I'm lonely. This might be different for everyone. For me, it was this. And I just cried. And these memories were coming up. It was actually very magnificent. After I kind of saw it, it just melted away. And it had this breath of fresh air come through me. It really felt like, I'm ready to stop being alone. I'm ready to stop feeling lonely. I'm a grown adult now. And you'd be surprised how many adults are still children running in there, running the show inside. And I immediately felt the surge of energy go through my body. It was like a healing. It was like, if there's any definition for healing, it was that. And I started getting joyful. I felt joy awaken in my stomach. I'm like, wow, I feel alive. And it came from the awareness inside. After that, things just started to come out of my life and fall apart. And I was so at peace. I started to think, well, what's the power of surrender? Now, a lot of people think surrender is you're in a battle. The enemy's on the other side. If I surrender, Armin, it's a terrible thing, isn't it? Because the enemy's going to take you over and kill you and murder everyone, Go, yeah, if the enemy is on the other side, surrender is a weakness, isn't it? What if on the other side is God? What if on the other side is the universe? What if on the other side is your own higher self, your own higher intentions? Suddenly, surrender becomes the most powerful and strongest thing you could do, isn't it? And the truth is, it is. And what we're surrendering when we talk about surrender is the illusion of control over how things need to be. And you go, Armin, it doesn't make any sense. How am I going to live my life? That's the reason it's not a 1-hour conversation. Surrender is letting the higher intelligence move into your life, show you who you are, show you what's meant for you. I mean, there's really 2 paths in this life you can live. The ego's path, which is chase everything you want. And the surrender path, which is stop chasing and see what's chasing you. Stop chasing what you want. Make space to see what wants you. I would not be here today with you guys in this moment if I didn't let go of needing to chase the things I want. 206 days I've been doing this surrender experiment in my life. At first, it was just a really awesome thing to do. Now it's become, oh, this is the truth of life. It really is, isn't it? I could share stories all day with you guys on the miracles that have come into my life just by letting go of control, but doing my part so that I can control. You go, Armin, that sounds amazing. Sign me up. Surrender. Just sit on the porch. Do nothing. Everything's going to work out. I go, that's not surrender, my friends. Surrender is you still do everything, but you don't do it for your ego anymore, your fears. Surrender doesn't mean stop working, stop thinking, stop. No, it means do everything. Do more of it than you can, but don't do it for yourself. Don't do it for your sense of security. Do it for something bigger. Well, Armin, I have so much self problems. I don't have time to think about others. I go, well, there you are right there, isn't it? And that's the convincing line. That's the pitch that you got sold on. Well, I have my problems. Fix mine, I'll fix theirs. Surrender is a way of living where you know innately you need nothing to be a certain way. You let go and surrender of your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, your desires, your needs. You, Armin, that's really hard. I go, I know. That's why we're talking, isn't it? But tell me, deep in your soul, you really believe that's not the answer? Don't you want to be at a place where you don't need anything? You get to just enjoy this life as the game it is. You go, it doesn't feel like a game, Armin. This feels like torture. I go, no, and this is how we've turned heaven into hell, isn't it? It's a great story of a man who dies. Finally lived his whole life to make it into heaven. Shows up, he looks at God, he goes, finally here. He goes, hey, how's it going? How was heaven? He goes, what are you talking about? I am in heaven. He goes, no, you were in heaven. What'd you do? How was the experience of human? He goes, well, I don't know. I worked the whole time trying to make sure I do it right. I didn't really take a moment to see what it's all about. So here's my message for you today. Especially if you're an achiever. Here's a few ways to start surrendering in your life. First, take all your goals you have for external objectives, the things you're trying to acquire, all the external goals, and turn them inward. Instead of make this much money, which by the way, you still will, and you'll still work towards it, you just won't always be salivating over the idea of having it. That's not needed for you to actually have it. Contrary to Think and Grow Rich, because I taught this for 5 years straight, you don't really actually have to obsess with your mind over an idea. And you make your life about it. You can actually let go of the obsession over making the money and getting to the goal and just call back your spirit into your own soul, and your true nature will unfold. And when your true nature is working through you, guess what? It's far more powerful than the mind. You will attract to you far more. You'll do far more than that $1 million. I'm telling you, I'm proof. I stopped thinking about money. One day I got a call from a man. He offered me $150,000 for my domain, just for my business brand. I'm like, oh. And you know how I felt when he said it? I pick up the phone and he goes, I'll give you $150,000 for 60% of your business. There's nothing happening in the business, just for the brand. And, you know, he's like, I still want you to keep 40% so you make money from it. You know how I felt, guys? Can anyone guess? Anyone guess what I felt? Now, it's the biggest deal I've ever had come into my life. I mean, the biggest thing I've ever sold was $50,000 or $60,000. I mean, $150,000. I mean, dude, this is like money miracle. Holy. Zach was there, you know. All right, did I feel peace? I felt neutral. I felt excitement. I felt scared. I'll tell you how I felt. I heard that number. I heard the guy. He was so invested. And I listened, and I felt nothing. It didn't matter, did it? That's peace. See $1 million on your net worth and still know you're more than that. That's peace. Meet a person who thinks they are their $1 million net worth. Are you going to invite them to the family party? Tell me, anyone like that guy? You going to invite him to the Halloween get together? I love this guy. He's always talking about how much he has. You love that guy? Come on. That's what I said. The worst case scenario is you actually get there and you think it means something. I'm just here to remind everyone. It's all just in your head, isn't it? We're all playing these roles. And when you realize that, you awaken to that, you can enjoy this whole thing, and it happens a lot faster, a lot smoother, a lot easier. No fear, no stress. My hope is that this talk today could help you really walk with Zach through this path with no fear, no stress, no, oh, I need it. Oh. You know. First is you turn all the external goals to internal. You go from I need to have this to I want to see how much I could silence my mind. Don't push the limit on how hard you could work. Push the limit on how still you could be. Try to sit down and just don't move until your mind stops talking. There's, for my achievers, there's a good challenge for you. See how long it takes you. Oh, and here's a trick, by the way. There's a cheat code to it. The harder you try, the longer it takes. Just a little tip right there for you. Second thing is, don't take from others to give to yourself. It's the practice of business. Make sure you close enough sales. Take from yourself to give to others. You heard me, that doesn't make sense. This is all anti-productive. What the hell is this? I go say, do you want to be wealthy or do you just want to get rich and miserable? Because there's a difference. Do you want prosperity or do you want some money? If you want some money, take from others, give to yourself. If you want prosperity, take from yourself, give to everyone else. Doesn't mean write a check out of your bank account to everyone you meet. It means give away anything you can, your time, your services, your care, your love. Give it. The more you give and the more you forgive, the more wealthier you become in this life. And here's the best part. You won't get to the $1 million. Like Zach will take you there. It's not even a question. But what you don't want is you don't want to get there and be someone that no one wants to be around. We all know those people. On the journey to success, they became an asshole. You know, I love this guy. Love that guy. He really thinks he's better than us now. She really doesn't have time for me anymore. I love this person. Thank God they got rich and wealthy. I mean, now that they have no debt, they have tons of assets, properties, and they're better than everyone else, I can finally connect with them, you know? I was really waiting for them to be their best version of themselves so I can learn to love them. See how stupid it sounds? But if you don't bring your awareness to it, that's actually what you think and what you're doing. I just want to wake you up. I just want you to think, ask some questions, be a philosopher in your life. And third, first is turn your external desires into internal, silencing the mind. Second is take from yourself to give to others. And third, realize that the only thing you can do is what your input is. Surrender the output to God. If you don't believe in God, the tree outside your house, he's in there too. And if you're a Buddhist, to nothing. Let nothing take over. Realize that you actually never control to begin with what happens from what you do. You go, no, I closed that sale. I go, did you? What does that even mean? Did you close the sale? Did you close the sale? Or did they just choose to pay you at the end? You did your part, and they decided whether they're giving you money, isn't it? If I kept doing that at every part of your life, you'll start saying none of it was under your control. Now, this shouldn't freak you out. This should put you at relief, right? And I'll end it with this. You're going to know there are some things you control in your life. I go, yes, your choices. If you take it back to the ancient history of man, the creation of all humankind, whether it's true or not, who knows? But let's just take the metaphor for a moment. It's a powerful one. Before we were given free will, we were like God. We were walking around. We were just one with everything. The tree was me, I was the tree. This lion is me, I'm the lion. Everything was good. We were all light. And then we ate this apple. And then now we awaken to the knowledge of good and evil. What is this? To knowledge. Knowledge just means free will. See, I got thinking when I started surrendering, because I really started questioning, do I really have any control over this life? I mean, is it all just predestined? I had these questions come up. And I realized something. Yes, and yes. I don't control what life is becoming. No, none of us do. But based on our decisions, how we exercise our free will, based on what we choose and what we act on, we determine what part of this life we get to. And they're all fate. One choice you make here, the road is already made for you. So we decide what we do. Do we choose faith or do we choose fear? Do we choose, I'm going to do this, or choose, no, I'm not going to do this? Do we choose repeat my pattern that I've always done the same thing here, or am I going to choose not to react this time? Do I choose to keep being who I've been being, or who I think I am, or do I choose to discover who I really am? Well, to do that, I got to break this pattern. Based on what we do, God with life responds. That doesn't mean we're in control of our life. It just means we get to choose if we're accepting or rejecting life. Now, if you keep rejecting life, you'll have a terrible time. Surrender is the art of learning to accept all life as it is and to do your part. So you don't get off this event today and you go, well, I'm going to do nothing. No. You say, I'm going to do everything now and detach from the outcome. It's a big difference. I'm going to do my part and not worry about what happens from that. You know, I mean, that's really hard. I go, no, it's actually really easy. You do it all the time. Go driving at night when you can't see down the road and all you see is right in front of you. Have you done that before? Drive down a forest, no lights anywhere, just that lights are showing you 5 feet in front of you. Have you done this, yes or no? Well, it takes a level of faith, doesn't it? To keep going straight when all you see is 5 feet in front of you and you don't know where you're going. You just have to really believe you're going to get there. You do it all the time. If I put Napoleon Bonaparte into your car on the highway today, he would think you're Gandalf the Wizard. How are you driving amidst all these cars with all these things moving and not be afraid that you're going to die? You go, well, Liz, I do it every day. So we all have faith. We all can. What area of your life you're not doing it, that's where you got to start doing it. That means with your business, with your job, with your kids, with your investments. You got to do it in the parts you're not doing it. Surrender is the path to peace. I know it, I'm living it. I've tried the other ways. And peace is in your soul, in your core, you know. I don't need anything. That's why I can enjoy having all of it and doing all of it. It doesn't own me. I have the goal. The goal doesn't have me. I have the money. The money doesn't have me. I have the desire. It's my desire. I'm not the desires. Suddenly you'll experience a life free of your own ego and mind. I want to thank Zach for bringing him in today to share this message with you guys.